Good morning. What up, my collective? Hello. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel, Patience with Spirit. My name is Patience. I am your favorite spirit medium, host of Spirit News, which you can find on all major platforms. And woo, thank you. Thank you, Spirit. We are so happy to be here. We are so grateful for all of our blessings. We are truly, truly so grateful to be of service, to be learning our spiritual abilities with the help of my very own spirit team and the Creator. Angels, spirit guides, ancestors, loved ones, beings of love and light, all of them in the bubble of spirit. We're so grateful to them for all the love, guidance, and support. We are truly, truly grateful. I'm just happy to be of service using my abilities for good. Everybody has spiritual abilities. You are first and foremost an electromagnetic particle of energy, of light, of breath, of frequency and vibration having a human experience. And through the help of my spirit team, which we put all of our spirit nuggets on our TikTok for you, if you want to follow any of our socials, we'd absolutely love to have you. You can find them through the description bar, through the link tree. They're there for you for easy access. If you'd like to know more, we're an open book. We have nothing to hide. We are happy to be a part of the new community that we're gathering, that we're attracting, that we're magnetically linked with. We're so happy to be here in our heart space, looking for answers, getting higher perspectives of linear views. So we have a very interesting reading today. This person's been coming to me, and I will admit at first I was questioning if I should or not, because hi James Dean, hello. Because on a first analysis, if I go through like my first thoughts when it came up, I was like, I like repel this person, Aleister Crowley. I literally repel this person. This person to me feels like dizzy. He feels like makes me feel nauseous. I'm not saying he does now. Now he's in a place of healing, but the energy that he embodied while he was here doing, living the life of Aleister Crowley, that energy that he created, it repels me. It makes me feel nauseous. And I often get that feeling in my body when I'm around somebody whose energy is a complete mismatch to mine. And you may find that within yourself as well. If you're around certain people, or even just the thought of certain people, you get a nauseous feeling, or you get some kind of ick. You get the ick. And you can't explain it. You don't know the person. You don't know why. There's something. It's cut the skin. There's something in that person's energy that is repelling you. Is like, stay away. This isn't somebody that's going to match your energy. And so that's what I got with him. But it still doesn't. But then after further analysis of observing how the energy was affecting me, I became, I want to know. I want to know how did he get here? What are his thoughts after the fact, now that he's gone? How does he feel about the choices he made, in his life review after passing and going back to source? Like, what is it that he feels now that he didn't see when he was here? Because he had a very interesting journey. Okay, not one that um many take. And so I really want to get his point of view for certain things, for what he was thinking. Like, what were you thinking? He's clearly in an unhealed state, needing power, needing dominance, things like that. So very masculine energy. So I do have many things that came up. I'm gonna try to streamline streamline it as best as possible. So just stay with me, okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Hi there. Hi, Paboon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the love and support. We're so grateful for all of you guys who are our day ones, who are subscribed, who like and comment. We are so grateful. We read everyone. We're truly, truly grateful for the love and support. And for all our newcomers, please, all are welcome. None are rejected here. We are so excited to bring whatever messages need to be brought to you, whatever resonates. Hi there. Hi, Dominic. So we hope that it helps in any way, shape, or form. So let's do it. So I got a couple things. Let me relight my incense because it went out. So far, Spirit said, I'm a shadow of my former self. God, to corrupt innocence, philosophy of time, rotten, it cut the skin. So we're going to talk to Aleister Crowley today. We're going to get his point of view. When I woke up, I had this song in my head. It's like, now, first of all, I want to say I'm not reading the lyrics because I tried to find the lyrics for it and I couldn't find it. But when I put in what I thought it could be to find it, Beast of Burden came up from Rolling Stones. And so the first song was like, am I rich enough for ya? I won't give in and I won't give up. Am I rich enough for ya? And so I put that in and it didn't come up, but Beast of Burden came up. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And it says, and it's by the Rolling Stones. I'll never be your beast. I'll never be your beast of burden. My back is broad, but it's a hurtin'. All I want for you to make love to me. I'll never be your beast of burden. I've walked for miles, my feet are hurting. All I want is for you to make love to me. Am I hard enough? Am I rough enough? Am I rich enough? I'm not too blind to see. I'll never be your beast of burden. So let's go home and draw the curtains. Music on the radio. Come on, baby, make sweet love to me. Am I hard enough? Am I rich enough? Am I rough enough? You're a pretty, 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 pretty girl. Come on, baby, please, please, please. I'll tell you. You can put me out on the street. Put me out with no shoes on my feet. Put me out. Put me out. Put me out of my misery. All your sickness, I can suck it up. Throw it all at me. I can shrug it off. There's one thing, baby, I don't understand. You keep on telling me I ain't your kind of man. Well, I, I ain't rough enough, tough enough, rich enough. I'll never be your beast of burden. So that's interesting because it kind of it gives me the vibe of, it was never enough. Like, it was always pushing the boundaries. It was always pushing the limits. How'd you bust your eyebrow? Oh, I fell in the bathtub. I fell shaving my legs. I hit my chin first, and then I hit my brow on our iron tub. But I got 7 stitches. It's gonna be alright. I'm alright. It looks worse than it is. It really doesn't hurt at all. Neon. So, from the song, what I'm getting is searching for things to make him feel tough, to make, having sex and being hard and, like really masculine ways of trying to feel full, of trying to feel like I'm doing enough, like, and then also getting a vibe of like being led to think that this is what will make you feel full. You know, I've walked for miles, but my feet are hurting. Like, all I want you to do is to love me, basically. Searching for reasons to be lovable, you know? like almost like and I don't know yet, we'll get into it, but I'm just reading the energy. Like he subconsciously was always searching for ways to be accepted or validated or loved by the progression of him trying to be original, trying to have discipline in something. His ambition was to use sex as a way to express the movement he was trying to create, and he was led to do this by something that kept saying, well, you need to do this, well, you need to do that, okay, now you need to do this and then you'll get this, something like that. um but eventually, like over time, put me out of my misery, put me out of my misery, put me out with no shoes on my feet, you can put me out on the street. Like, it's almost like, oh my gosh, and then there's this different song on the side, I am enough, yes I am, don't waste your time, don't give up, be yourself, get shit done. It's like this real imbalance of wanting to be nurtured and loved, but not understanding that that was pro the pro the produce the production of his imbalanced philosophy. That was the production of his rebelling. Yeah, he was rebelling against actually looking at the root cause of why he chased all of these things to become an expert at something that he thought would give him some kind of ultimate potential to essentially be lovable. So that's very interesting. Okay. And it was never enough. It was always the next and the next, pushing the limits, pushing the boundaries. I need to know more. I need more. This is amazing. This felt great. It was an obsession. It was an obsession. And it was chasing something, chasing some kind of structure or something. Okay. And then when I was cleaning up from the last reading, this fell on the floor, and it's level 2 present. And it says, what are you spending more energy on than you have to give? What are you spending more energy on than you have to give? And that was so interesting to me, because what we are learning and what we talk about, what we're very passionate about, is learning about energy. We are not a society that is taught about our true energetic state, and that we are first and foremost, before even being a human, we are electromagnetic energy, frequency, vibration. We're non-physical. The thing that animates our physical body is what we are. That spark, that electromagnetic frequency, is what we are without our human vessel. When the human vessel passes, when it dies, we return back to that state. And so, in our society, we're not taught about how to harness our energy, or how to sustain it, or how to even activate it, or how to even maintain it properly. And so, in this time that we're going towards into the new earth, Spirit has made it very evident to me that energy is something that we should be focusing on, and in a different way than we have before. And we always come across people in our readings that want to understand energy too, but in a different, slightly distorted way, not in a universal cosmic source creator way, more in like a very masculine, like action based way, more like a ritual kind of way, like misinterpreting misinterpreting ancient wisdom, and producing a very dense, um what's that word? Interpretation of it through their own lens of the energy that they are in, these certain people. And so that's one thing that you have to remember, is that everything that you come into contact with or awareness of when it comes to energy is going to be interpreted through the lens of where you're at now in your energy. So if you're on context, if you're, and we will get to context, yes, it's he's saying it's context for how he got here. If you're unhealed and you have wounds from when you're a child that you refuse to look at, and you're constantly rebelling and you're blaming other people and you're searching outside of yourself to, rebel and say I can do it. What did he say? It was do as thou wilt. That was the quote. That's basically his philosophy in a nutshell. But that's because there's something in his, there's some kind of wound in him that made him feel that way. And I don't know what it is yet, but because he didn't heal it, everything he did was viewed through that lens of not being good enough, of not being lovable, of not being, and his refusal to look at that exacerbated, what he did. Okay? So I want to understand it. I want to heal it. I want it to be closed. I want this portal to be closed. So hopefully we can close it. Okay? What are you spending more energy on than you have to give? Okay, let's see. What are you spending more? So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see what we can get. Let's see what comes through. And let's just remember that, we're not doing this for, you know, um, to for the clout. We're doing this to heal. So whatever comes through, we might not get the, nitty gritty, dirty little secrets of everything, but we'll definitely get the emotional trauma that led to it. Something, something that we can heal. Okay, that's our goal. And ultimately, after or before spiritual development, okay, it's to heal it. So, what are you spending more energy on than you have to give? That could possibly be a very good question for people who are watching to ask themselves. Is there something in your life that you're giving too much energy to, that you're not, that's distracting you from what's really going on? Tell us more. Thank you so much, Aleister Crowley, for being here with us. With Archangel Michael, I invite you into my energy field. If you have a message for us and you want to share your point of view with us, please do so. At the drop of a hat. Barefooted, a month of Sundays. Cat on a hot tin roof as big as a house. Yeah, there's something that he kept scratched. Something he would do at the drop of a hat. You didn't have to ask him. When it came to this thing that he spent his energy on, um, it made him feel like as big as a house. It made him feel like important. It made him feel like he was somebody. And really, he was a cat on a hot tin roof because he looked for fallen leaves, because he wasn't looking at what he was doing as doing something wrong. But really, when he would do it, it would take a lot of energy out of him, and he might feel energized for a minute, but he was really a cat on a hot tin roof. He was like, like that, like playing with fire, okay? But it was something that he dedicated a lot of time and energy to, and he would do it at the drop of a hat. He was addicted to doing it. Because he was addicted to the feeling that it brought him of power. What else about this? What was he spending more energy on than he had to give? Oh, that's too many. All wet goose egg. Yeah, when it came to whatever he was doing, which we do know for as a fact to be ritual, ceremonial practices, magic with a CK. Okay, everybody knows that that's what he was doing. Okay, that ain't no mystery. Um, he was obsessed with it. But he was wet behind the ears. Spirit says he was all wet. His whole body was wet. He didn't know what he was doing, but he thought that he found a goose egg. He thought that he had knowledge. He thought that he had something that was important, that he understood, but too big for your britches. And love at first sight. Yeah, this was something that he didn't understand, that he took on to I wrote down right here spiritual psychosis. If you follow us and you're interested in learning about energy and when it comes to spiritual development, which is absolutely 100% where everyone's headed, if you're even if you're not there now, at some point in your journey, in multiple incarnations, you will get to that point where you're ready to start taking the spiritual journey and understanding yourself on a spiritual level. Okay, everybody will be there, even if you're not now. At some point, you will. And what we're learning is that you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it thinking that just because you have a manuscript or you looked up a spell or whatever, however it is you got into your spirituality, you can't do it by yourself. You have to employ or implore the help from your spirit team. Your spirit team are the ones that are non-physical, that are part of your soul family. If you are not in connection with them, if you are not in relationship with them, and when I say spirit, I'm talking about the whole shebang. I'm talking about creator, prime source creator, angels, spirit guides, ancestors, loved ones, beings of love and light. Everyone that is assigned to you for a reason. You have a soul circle for a reason. You are meant to have relationship with your spirit team so you can 1960s navigate your physical incarnation. But we've lost connection with that. And we're going back into connection with it as more divine feminine energy gets integrated into the collective, because we've been living without the connection of feminine energy for a long time. And so when Aleister Crowley did not have relationship with spirit. And so when he came across this information or these rituals, he was too big for his britches, but it was love at first sight because it was making him feel full. But the thing about it is that if you're going into these things by yourself and you don't have your spiritual gifts developed, your spiritual discernment, your ability to know energies, your ability to interpret the energies, then you're going to misinterpret things through the lens of your own trauma. Okay? So, something about that. Yeah, but he was, so he was too big for his at the stroke of 11. Too big for his britches, a fat cat, an uphill battle. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about fat cat and an uphill battle, because what he would drop everything at the drop of a hat to do is some kind of ceremonial ritual things that he thought that he could handle. He thought he was an expert. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. He he refused to believe that that what he was getting wasn't right. To him it was absolutely right. He was fighting tooth and nail and laughing all the way to the bank in reverse. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. because he abused spiritual practices for his own gain to be a fat cat, which seemed to be an uphill battle. He kept pushing and pushing, trying to change. Yes, I have. He kept trying to change certain obstacles that would present themselves by through ritual magic. It became experimental. It became something that he wanted to like play with. Like it's weird because it's like this obsessive curiosity feeling, but then this like blindness of not being able to really accept or see the the fault in what he was doing. Um, he kept fighting tooth and nail. He didn't want to admit that he didn't know everything. He kept feeling like the next one's gonna give me that power, the next one, and the next one. Just chasing dragons. He was chasing a dragon. Give me one more. Save face, the party's over. Yeah. He was trying to save face because he could have been around other people that practiced ceremonial magic. And he wanted to look like the expert. He realized that the people he was around, he might have been too big for his britches. He was around fat cats and he wanted to save face. So he fought tooth and nail to look like he had all his shit together so he could laugh all the way to the bank. But there's something that he did that he shouldn't have done. Because it says save face and the party's over. Something that really like shifted what he was doing. And one of his philosophies was he believed that, where is it? He believed in do as thou wilt. He believed in do as thou wilt. I'm looking for this part that I read. Oh, here. And his philosophy that he made up, or his religion or whatever, is thelema. And also, by the way, he named one of his children Jezebel. Jezebel? That's odd. Yeah, say a prayer. So he 2010. So he basically like cursed his family because he was going into these channeled states thinking he was talking to something. Hello everybody. Thinking he was talking to something that was giving him good information, that was giving him knowledge, and it was teaching him. That's where the song comes in. A beast of burden. The whatever beast came to him kept saying, do this and you'll be rich. Do this and you'll have 4 wives. Do this and you'll stay hard forever. Just a really low vibrational. First of all, if those are the things that excite you, that a supernatural entity is coming to you, reading your mind, enticing you with the thoughts that you're thinking, if that's what he was offered by the supernatural entity that he claims gave him all this information to be hard enough, to be rich enough, to be strong enough, if those are the things that he's offering, then then that's your energy. You're still in your root chakra. You're not ready for spiritual development. You're still a baby. You're too big for your britches, because I guarantee you that once you cross that threshold, that journey of being in your root chakra, of needing physical pleasure and validation and security and all that, once you're past that, you don't even think about the fleshly desires of having an earth experience. So there's something about this beast of burden that literally became a burden because it was lying to him, telling him giving him truths, but at the same time, it was master manipulator. Okay, these things can read your thoughts, and that's why we're very adamant about telling you, and why spirit always brings it up, because our whole the whole collective, there's some kind of like spell under the collective or something, and it has to do with not just what people are doing now, but what people did a long time ago, because it's a curse. It's a repeating cycle. And so that's why a lot of readers are picking up on, if you watch, if I did it, he said I did it. If you watch readings and you're into that, if you know, you know. Every reader picks up on similar stories, and we can't pinpoint the stories because it's just energy, and we can't read other people's energy. We're just reading the energy of people who have committed these things against energy. And so they're like a stain that need to be brought into the light. And so they're being brought out through us by us reading it, and asking the question so we can heal it, because this was done a long time ago and it's still affecting the collective. Okay. Um, so he so he has a beast of burden, because twofold, because for one thing, he can't, that's never enough for him, and he always has to be going to this entity because he feels like it gives him power to be able to do this. But the way he does it is not through, I have this card right here. Your mind is an altar to source energy. You don't need to do ritual magic. You don't need to do ceremonies. You don't have to pin a frog onto the crucifix and say it's Jesus. And like, that's just ridiculous. You can do those things to manipulate energy to come to you, but that's not the energy that you want to bring to you, especially when you're doing it in an unhealed state. When you're healing, you don't want to do those things. Is the long way of what I wanted to say. Okay, so um his philosophy, thelema, was a Western esoteric, occult, social, or spiritual philosophy and new religious movement founded in the 1900s by Aleister Crowley. Pain, an English writer, mystic, occultist, and ceremonial magician. Central to Thelema is the concept of discovering and following one's true will, a divine and individual purpose that transcends ordinary desires. Do you know what that means? Do as thou will. I'll do what I want, because it's divine to do what I want, no matter who it hurts, or what my fruits are, even if I'm a drug addict, even if I'm killing animals, even if I'm drinking blood. Do what thou wilt. No, no, it's about energy. Doing those things is low vibrational. You don't have to kill anything. You don't have to do drugs. You don't even have to have sex to harness pure source energy. But he believed you did. So he his cosmology features deities inspired by ancient Egyptian religion. Again, taking ancient texts and interpreting them through your own lens of trauma. So his initial trauma point is not being enough, not good enough, not lovable enough, and so he found a way to distort ancient cosmic information to suit his needs, just like men do. And I'm not saying men like all men, I'm just saying human, just like humans do. This is what humans do. And they don't understand the energetic repercussions of doing it and how it affects every generation after. Okay, and so that's why it has to come up in these readings, because this is the way that it's unfolding. This is the way that God is making it readily available for everyone to know what needs to be healed. Okay, so his philosophy, do as thou wilt, which I actually remember seeing Jay-Z wearing a hoodie that said do as thou wilt. You can do what you want. This is, God is giving you, creator is giving you free will. And so you can do what you want. But when you do what you want at the expense of other people's free will, and you manipulate energy, and you don't tell people your true intentions, and you don't, and clouded, and you manipulate people to, you lie to them. I mean, you are essentially infringing on people's free will. And you're teaching them things that you don't fully understand, and you're taking away their ability to truly decide based on an informed opinion of all the answers. And so that is against spiritual law, cosmic law. One of the biggest cosmic laws that you have to be careful of is free will. Don't take away someone's free will because you want to do magic, because you want to look like top dog magician. Okay? So he may have went through some kind of spiritual psychosis because of all the magic he was doing and his unhealed wound. It didn't allow him, he was rebelling, and it didn't allow him to see what he was really, what the root cause of this was. And so he gained a lot, he did have a lot of insights, he did, and he was contacted by supernatural entities, he was, but because his belief in himself was so low, it acted as a catalyst to present or distort the information he was getting and then present it to others in the way that he was interpreting it. I hope that makes sense, okay? Which was very selfish. It was very selfish. It was very three-dimensional. It was very self-serving. It was very um it was very me me me. I want to have sex, I want to have money, I want to have power. Okay? So what else? What else do you want us to know? So he may have went through some kind of spiritual psychosis based on his philosophy, do as thou wilt. Do as thou wilt, but work on your energy first. If you do everything you want and you don't heal the energy, then you're going to be doing what you want in the wrong energy. Paranormal education right here. Confirmation. If you do what you want without understanding the repercussions of energy, or even knowing about the paranormal, the other side of things, there could be big repercussions. What's cooking? What's cooking? Building the pyramids. I cannot make it up. Taking something ancient and then making it what you want based on your unhealed trauma. I can't make it up. He rebuilding the pyramids. What's cooking? He took something that was cosmic law and he twisted it and distorted it to fit his own needs, to make himself feel better about what he was doing, to make it, to wrap it up in a nice pretty little package of, this is divine, this is what God would want, this is the true whatever he was thinking. He may have actually drugged people who participated in these ceremonies, which again, free will. If you're drugging people to take part in ceremonies you know that they wouldn't take part in sober, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. But it was the only way that he could build his empire, I guess. He really wanted this religion to take hold. He had some kind of philosophy that it need to be the ancient practices needed to be modernized for the time that we're in. But that's not true because cosmic law is timeless. It if it is divine in cosmic law, it goes through any time. There's no boundaries to or limits based on what time you're in. Like Yeshua's teachings of the things that he taught his disciples to share are timeless. They don't require any limitations. There's no rules in that way. And so that's how you know if something is false. If what you're getting is requiring you to change cosmic law that is universal, that is timeless, that doesn't ever get watered down or distorted because of what time we're in, it's true in any time, then that's how you know it's divine. Because the divine will never give you information that is, more masculine or more feminine. It's always both. Okay. And so that is the key in this situation is that he was giving all of his energy to something that he wasn't cultivating, overwhelming rage that he wasn't cultivating or learning how to sustain. And that's another thing about ritual and ceremonial practices is that the energy has to come from somewhere. And we're not taught about this. We just assume it comes out of thin air, but it doesn't. It comes from your field. But for this person, when you're doing this much ceremonial magic, you have to start getting more people. That's how a cult gets started. You have to start sourcing energy to facilitate the rituals because your energy is completely gone. It's tapped. There's no more. And that's where energy harvesting comes in order to make the ritual happen, you have to have some kind of source of energy. And once you use up all of yours, you will be going around looking for people, drawing people in to be part of what you're doing, but you're lying to them. So he may have, drawn people in and then gave them something to make them, easier to comply or to do what he wanted, do as thou wilt. I have to get this done, so I'm just gonna sprinkle a little something in their food, and they're gonna do as I say, and then the ceremony can commence. Like, okay, so really distorting ancient cosmic law, coming across high spiritual knowledge, and forming it to fit what he wanted. Okay, spiritual psychosis. That's another thing. There's something there. I've been getting a download about spiritual psychosis because when people go on a spiritual journey and they come into, however, however you come into contact with spiritual knowledge that puts you on that path, if you're not healing and listening to the guidance of your spirit team to integrate the spiritual knowledge energetically, if you're not actually applying it and like putting it into action and like going every like little small steps to integrate and to release and to observe, and like there's a process, but if you're like trying to bypass the process because you're not integrating, you're not healing, you're not asking for help from your spirit team, you can go into a spiritual psychosis. And that's what a lot of people, you'll see it now on TikTok, a lot of people are going into that because they're getting the information, but they're not grounding themselves or applying the information. And so it causes a split, and it causes you to go into a form of psychosis where you can't see where you're kind of tripping up because you have so much spiritual knowledge. It's almost like an inability to see that having the knowledge is different than being the knowledge, if that makes sense. So that has to do with Aleister Crowley. Like, he would have had the same level of knowledge and of power if he had just healed his thoughts, if he had just healed his mother wound, if he had just healed that thought that he was never good enough and never going to be good enough, that this was the only thing that would make him good enough. If he had healed that and went into his heart space, that is where you'll connect with source energy, and where you can have that kind of knowledge, where you're responsible enough to not distort it and share it with other people through your distortion, because that's highly irresponsible as well. Okay. So he definitely infringed on people's free will quite often, which is a no-no. But there's something about his energy where I think he really believed he was right. Where he, yeah, that's so funny. Where he really believed he was right. Yeah, where he was believed because that he had superpowers, that he was like chosen, that he was the ultimate illuminated one that could save the day, save society. Like, he truly believed that. And the smoke represents the magic. Look, shove. And Spirit said shove, and look, he's shoving a guy out of the basket. He could have hurt people. He could have thought that he was the one who was right, doing what needed to be done to save the day, that magic helped him to be the superhero that he couldn't be otherwise, that it activated, within him some kind of like superior mind, some kind of Jedi mind trick type of thing. But he thought he was the only one who could be illuminated. And he'd never listened to what people, there could have been someone who was trying to warn him, like, you don't know what you're messing with, you don't know the repercussions. Hi, Anthony. You don't know what you're in for. This isn't a good idea. There could have been someone who learned about his tricks, or the what he was doing to attain this type of illumination, and they didn't agree with it. It could have been some kind of order that he was part of, some kind of order that he maybe started with the order, something about Rosicrucian, or, so as I see a rose here, they could have kicked him out because he was doing some kind of weird magic that, I don't know, maybe they do rituals too, but it's different. Some kind of boys club, something where it was just men, there are no women involved. There's a mistake right there. Some kind of always obey the rules. Yeah, he got tired of this boys club because they had too many rules, and he was experimenting with energy. He wanted to do things that this group didn't want to do, and they considered him to be a clown because of his rebellious ways, because of how much he wanted to always break the rules and go beyond the limits and do things that they weren't willing to do. Well, what were they willing to do? Just, maybe like light a candle, or, very mild things that he wasn't into. He wanted to, they were going very slow for him. Like I said, he wanted more. It was never enough. He always had to have more, be bigger, be better. Too big for his britches. So he got tired of this fraternity he was in, or whatever, and what did he want to do? Because he is an unhealed person, and so he's with a bunch of people that don't share the same, they're still a little distorted in how to, come to spiritual knowledge. They still do ceremonies and stuff, but not this predatory level, not at this predatory level where he's luring people in to trick them to harvest their energy. And I don't think he's harvesting it like, oh, I'm going to get this person and I'm going to take their energy. Not like that. It's more like corrupting innocence, like having some kind of insatiable need to bring people into his belief system so there can be more believers of his belief system. More of like that makes him feel powerful. And these people were illuminated that he was a bunch of bullshit, that he was distorting the views, and they called him out on it. So he left that. Let's go on safari. I can't make it up. He left that. He left that. He could have. You know what? I saw something about him going on a safari. Let me see if I can find it. Expedition. Yeah, in April 1905, he proposed his plans to the British occultist expedition, climbing one of the highest mountains in the world. Unbending. Crowley, Pash, Raymond, and a group of porters made it to about 6,500 feet before a small avalanche forced a nervous retreat. Crowley claimed they reached about 25,000 feet and claimed to have held the altitude record until 1922. Yeah, just a continuation of his never, like an adrenaline junkie. It's never good enough, and it has to have more and more danger, more excitement, more this, more that. Just never full. Always chasing that feeling. That's why that's why he did it. I didn't know that the ice was so soft. He thought he was making some kind of breakthrough, something that he didn't know that he could do or that was possible. So he broke away from this group. He started doing very experimental energy work. He started to lure people in and to take on his philosophy. But he did it through like extreme measures. He was very extreme. He was always like, they'll do what I want, because he was drugging them or something. Something about being drugged. An inquiry concerning human understanding. We're gonna look in the philosophy book. Hi, Anthony. I think I said hi, but hi again. The academic or skeptical philosophy. There is not a greater number of philosophical reasonings displayed upon any subject than those which prove the existence of a deity and refute the fallacies of atheists. I cannot make it up. And yet the most religious philosophers still dispute whether any man can be so blinded as to be speculative atheist. How shall we reconcile these contradictions? The knights errant who wandered about to clear the world of dragons and giants never entertained the least doubt with regard to the existence of these monsters. The skeptic is another enemy of religion, who naturally provokes the indignation of all divines and graver philosophers, though it is certain that no man ever met with any such absurd creature or conversed with a man who had no opinion or principle concerning any subject, either of action or speculation. This begets a very natural question: what is meant by a skeptic, and how far it is possible to push these philosophical principles of doubt and uncertainty? Thank you, I cannot make it up. The thing about Aleister Crowley is that he didn't truly believe that there was a divine source or a god. And so in his pursuit of learning alternative things to believe in through his lens of unhealed trauma of not being good enough, he created or distorted an ancient philosophy that helped him to be what he thought he wanted to be. Okay? But he was still lacking his relationship to spirit. And that's what I find fascinating about all of these people who do ceremonial magic. It's like they attribute the magic to God or to a divine source, but then don't believe that they are able to be that source. Your mind is an altar to source energy. They believe that they have to create an altar outside of themselves and do all these things outside of themselves, burn animals and take drugs and hallucinogens and and go and all these. I mean, I don't know. I don't practice these things, so I don't know. Like, I mean, according to Wikipedia, he was using sex magic. Using the the spark of sex to ignite or to bring forward energy and to manipulate it, but without even giving credit to how that's possible. You know, a very atheistic way of looking at energy manipulation. You you can't do anything spiritual without the help of prime source creator, without the help of your spirit team. When you deny that part of it and you don't believe that that is important, or you're not aware that that's something you should do, or you're not even thinking that anything you do has any repercussions energetically because you don't know anything about energy, you disrespect the creator who created this experience for you to choose to begin with. So there's like this weird disconnect of, oh, I'll do this ceremonial magic, and I'll kill animals, and I'll put them on an altar, and I'll pretend that they're a person, but I won't ask for forgiveness for things that I've done. I won't ask for help from my angels to heal. It's like a weird, like, repelling of each other. It's so weird. It's like you're going through all these lengths and doing all these things. Why don't you just sit down and say what needs to heal? It would be a lot easier, and you wouldn't hurt people, you wouldn't hurt yourself, you wouldn't have to kill anything. You don't have to have sex. You just sit quietly and you ask your guides for help of what show me what needs to heal, show me what I can do, how can I heal, how can I become a better version of myself, what needs to be done, and then taking each day as it comes to see what they're bringing you, and then observe it, and then implement it, and then integrate it. Instead, you get these people that don't believe that there's anything else, and then they find, you know, alternative ways of experiencing energy, and they think that that is God. That's not God. You don't have to do those things to experience miracles. You are the miracle. You're a walking, talking miracle. Okay? So it may have started, his philosophy may have started with a skeptical beginning, a very academic beginning. And that's another thing. And we're making an episode called The Rise of Feminine Energy, because if you truly want to be connected to your intuitive abilities, to your spiritual gifts, to being in relationship with spirit, you have to heal your mother wound. You have to heal the feminine energy, the feminine part of yourself, because that is the part that will help you to connect to that. When you're an academic and a skeptic, that's all left brain, masculine energy, where you have to have the science and you have to prove that deities exist and you have to prove that, you have to take action, 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 when you're never just actually sitting in silence, listening for what comes through. You're just chasing, you're chasing, you're chasing. And feminine energy is about knowing. It's about an inner knowing, tapping into your ancestors and getting a message from them who've lived before you, who know what's going on the other side. It's like you're never going to find source energy through repetitive action. You're never going to find your spiritual gifts through a skeptical academic lens, because it needs your faith, it needs your belief to even come to you. And if you're doing altars and ceremonies, then what you're really saying is that I don't have the power to experience these things. I have to do these things first in order to experience something. And that's not true. It's not true. So we did have some kind of mother wound. There is another species of skepticism consequent to science and inquiry, when men are supposed to have discovered either the absolute fallaciousness of their mental faculties or their unfitness to reach any fixed determination in all those curious subjects of speculation about which they are commonly employed. Even our very senses are brought into dispute by a certain species of philosophers, and the maxims of common life are subjected to the same doubt as the most profound principles of conclusions of metaphysics and theology. As these paradoxical tenets are to be met in some philosophers, and the refutation of them in several, they naturally excite our curiosity and make us inquire into the arguments on which they may be founded. I need not insist upon the more trite topics employed by the skeptics in all ages against the evidence of sense, such as those which are derived from the imperfection and fallaciousness of our organs on numberless occasions. Yes, you. I'm sure there are many times where Aleister felt sick to his stomach, or his body was like, don't do that, or I wouldn't do that if I were you, where he felt this feeling where he was warned by his body. Your mind is an altar, your heart is your thoughts are the wand. And so when you're not listening to your body and you're not interpreting those non-physical cues that you would if you were connected to your feminine energy, then you're ignoring the spirit signs that are being given to you because you're not in the correct energy to interpret them. And so you base all of your experience and all of your choices on academia. I'm doing this for science. I'm doing this to prove that deities exist. I'm doing this. I'm the experiment for you guys to see that this is real. But they don't even have a, a basic human understanding of their own energy. So there is something about him needing to perfect these rituals in order to prove himself, to prove that what he was doing was superior and that he was more powerful and that he was more connected and he was more of this. It was never enough. He was ultimately destroyed by his philosophy because he was teaching that nothing can ever be present Oh, listen to this. But this universal and primary opinion of all men is soon destroyed by the slightest philosophy which teaches us that nothing can ever be present to the mind but an image or perception, and that the senses are only the inlets through which these images are conveyed, without being able to produce any immediate intercourse between the mind and the object. Yes, these universal laws or concepts are for everybody, but if you're unhealed and you receive these spiritual laws, and you will distort them based on where you're at in your own energy, and you will go through a spiritual psychosis because you are practicing a spiritual distortion that doesn't match pure positive energy. It matches your own human needs to feel validated, to feel. So that's why it destroyed him. His own philosophy destroyed him because he was dis- judged, because he was distorting universal information. He was trying to, but he was trying to produce an immediate connection between the mind and the non-physical. But he couldn't remove himself or be independent of it, so he suffered because he couldn't connect without doing it. He had no connection independent from doing these rituals, and so he didn't see that this was dictating all of the reasons of the man he was starting to reflect and his existence, and he couldn't consider that the house he built was nothing more but a perception in his own mind, fleeting copies or representations of other existences that were distorted based on how he was interpreting them through the lens of his own trauma. Thank you. Like I said, thank you. He created a philosophy through magic, through academic pursuit, because his own opinion of himself was so low, he thought that this was the only way that he could be validated. And so he created a faith based on things that he thought were given to him, that were self but evident principles to justify what he was doing. He distorted an ancient philosophical spiritual knowledge to basically for his own needs, okay, based on his own lens. And it was wrong. He was attracting the energy that he was in at the time he was doing it. He wasn't in a good energy, so he's attracting forces that were feeding off of his mind and feeding him his own thoughts about what he wanted. Okay? It's like I saw this video the other day. I saw this TikTok where this Muslim man he was asked a question. He said, "What is heaven to you? Like, what is God going to give you when you go to heaven?" And what he started to explain was kind of similar to what Aleister Crowley wanted. And he was saying that in heaven, God gives you as many pure virgin women as you want, and he allows you to be hard enough to satisfy them over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. That is not God. God doesn't even have a physical body. Why would God care about sex? Why would God care about you killing an animal? Why, these are all things that we have to really ask ourselves. These are all human fleshy needs, things that we have to overcome as we, rise in our energy. We start at the root, and you need security, and you need to feel validated. It's a whole thing. But if you're stuck in that energy and then you place that on top of divine energy, That's not how it works. Just because that's the lens you're looking through doesn't mean that that is what it is. So, critique of pure reason. The task then of this critic of pure speculative reason consists in the described attempt to transform the procedure previously followed in metaphysics by subjecting metaphysics to a complete revolution, thus following the example set by the geometricians and investigators of nature. The critique is a treatise on the method of science of metaphysics, not a system of the science itself. Yet it does set down the entire outline of metaphysics, including the bounds of this science, as well as its entire internal structure. For pure speculative reason has a twofold peculiarity. First, it both can and ought to measure what its own ability is according to the different ways in which it selects objects for its thought. For in a prior recognition, nothing can be attributed to objects except what the thinking subject takes from itself. I can't make it up, you guys. You you will just, if you don't work on your energy first before going and following someone else's ideology or philosophy, if you don't build a relationship with your own spirit team, spirit is the only one who can help you on your spiritual path. There's nothing else outside of you that you should be ascribing to or believing or following. Even me, I'm just here learning how to read energy through spirit and trying to understand the wisdom and the knowledge needed to have a balanced life here as a human. You're having a human experience, so you can't go down a spiritual path and be all spiritual. You also have to have human experience, and part of the human experience is learning how to transmute your emotions. Coming here, we come here because the emotional turmoil that we feel as humans is so great that it's a one of the biggest catalysts we can have for spiritual evolution. But if you are a young soul, or you're somebody who isn't taking your spiritual journey yet and it seems like ridiculous to you, once you decide to take a spiritual journey, I highly 100% suggest that that is the time that you open yourself up to ask for spiritual guidance from your spirit team, from Prime Source Creator. Because if you do it yourself, you're going to distort the information through the lens of your trauma, just like Aleister Crowley did, and that's why his philosophy destroyed him. He became a heroin addict. No, he couldn't keep a relationship. The fruits of his labor were rotten. And so that would be the same for you. Let's not let history repeat itself. If you're ready for spiritual enlightenment and you want to know more, that your spirit team, when you ask, you have to ask, because they can't infringe on your free will. They're not just going to help you. You have to actually have relationship with them. They're not a vending machine. Then they'll give you little pieces, and you have to follow the little nuggets they give you, because then you'll go through spiritual psychosis where you think you're ready for more, but you haven't even integrated or transmuted this over here, but you keep on pushing more and more. You become a giant opened up upside down triangle where you're just getting information, and you start to have psychosis where you think that you're, you know, I don't know, it's different for everybody. For him, he thought he was this divine prophet that was going to change society through his philosophy, and that he was getting all these divine downloads, but they weren't divine. They were making him do things that he considered academia that were abominations. Okay? And so he stained his field. He had a stained field, and that's why when I first started getting him, I kept feeling nauseous, because his field was so burdened with with envy and just so many things. It made me feel nauseous. Okay, so He definitely took on way more than he could chew. He thought that he was almighty, all powerful because he was illuminated. He went through spiritual psychosis where he believed that only he was the only one who could receive this kind of information, and that he was, I don't know, the source of this information or something. All right. How can we heal it? One question that you can ask yourself, what are you spending more energy on than you have to give? If you're focusing on something that makes you tired, that makes you feel stress, that makes you feel like you can never stop doing it, or you always have to keep going, you may want to consider that that's not something that is feeding your soul. It's something that's taking from you. And that could be anything. It could be addictions. It could be porn. It could be music. It could be something that isn't meant for you, but you keep on pushing it. Or it could be something that you're not supposed to be doing, but you keep on pushing it. So that's a great question to ask yourself. Am I spending too much energy on this? Is the fruit of my labor of putting so much focus and energy into something, is my fruits abundant? If I'm sick all the time, if I'm starting to have bad health, if I'm starting to be overweight, and all of these things, if my thoughts aren't mirroring abundance, then maybe what I'm doing is not for me. And that's what Aleister Crowley wishes he would have done. Your mind is an altar to source energy. He kept on bending his mind. He kept on thinking that his thoughts were divine, that he was like some kind of conduit for divine energy, but yet he was not walking or doing the things that a person of divine energy would do. And so you have to be honest with yourself. Improvement. Don't be afraid to know when there's need for improvement. Not everyone is perfect. I saw imperfection not too long ago. Not everyone you are perfect. When you go back to source energy, you're perfect. You come here to be perfectly imperfect, okay? If you don't have inner peace, if you keep on attracting drama, if you can't keep a relationship, if you keep being attracted to drugs and alcohol, if you keep hanging around people that don't have their life together, if you keep on attracting people that hurt you, what are you doing? You have to ask yourself, what am I focusing on? What am I giving my attention to? You should start focusing on, you should have more caution and start looking at those things and start developing your own inner peace. Now, in retrospect, he sees that he could have had the same level of knowledge, but in a healed state, where he wouldn't have abused it, where he wouldn't have needed more. It would have been enough. If he had worked on his own peace, his inner peace, if he had known that that was the key to having the same level of enlightenment, but through a different lens, he would have been more passionate about fixing how to feel good no matter what, how to find joy in any situation, good or bad, how to have inner peace no matter who's in front of you, no matter what someone's telling you. Instead, he lost his sweetness. He lost his ability to be sweet, to be kind, to be nurturing. He trapped himself in his thoughts by him thinking that he wasn't lovable, that something happened to him when he was little, possibly a mother wound where she may have made him feel like he wasn't sweet, that he wasn't good enough for her love. And that trickled into his adult life where he had no peace. Everything he was passionate about, that he should have stopped. He couldn't stop because he didn't have inner peace. He feared death, so he was looking for answers. He thought he was being creative, but by using magic. Mm-hmm. I can't make it up. How can we end it? How would you like to end it? Oh, these are two different decks. How would you like to end it? Thank you so much for coming through. How would you like to end it? What happened to your eye? I fell in the bathtub shaving. And I fell on my chin. I'm okay though. Awakened spirit, desire to change. Yes, come through. Now in retrospect, on the other side, through his life review, he sees now what he was missing, what happened. You can you can absolutely walk a spiritual path, but you need to ask for help. You need to ask for help from your spirit team, and they will give you the little nuggets you need day by day, slowly, to integrate you slowly, to release those soul ties, to heal those wounds slowly over time. And then you'll actually implement those ideas and those philosophies into your life with the people in your life, and you'll start applying those things to change, to shift your field, to clear your field. And so when you rush into it, Spirit just said rush. When you rush into it because you feel like, oh, I'm ready. Your mind says, I'm ready for the next one. I'm ready for the next one. You really don't know. That's what your spirit team is for. You really don't know how ready you are. When you rush spiritual development and you rush into it, you get spiritual psychosis. And it's because you're transitioning between two worlds, but you're stuck in one. You have one foot in one and one foot in the other. And you become stuck in right in between. And so you're still trying to live both ways. You can't serve two masters. You have to choose. And so if you still want to be addicted and you still want to be victimized and you still want to be, all of that, that's fine. You can be that. But you can't also have divine knowledge and have spiritual gifts and have spiritual responsibility, divine responsibility, when you're still spiritually irresponsible. And so that's why you have to heal. And the only way to know what to heal, things that you cannot see, is to ask for help from your spirit team. And they will show you through anything, because everything's energy. They'll show you through a movie, or they'll show you through a book, or a person that comes into your life that you would have thought, and you hear their story and you're like, oh my God, that's kind of like my story. It happens in ways that aren't obvious, that aren't going to slap you in the face. You have to be in a receptive mode to receive what you're trying to get clarity on. And then once you get the clarity, once you observe that there is something coming up, then you can start to address why it's making you emotionally reactive, and why that triggers an emotional reaction out of you, or makes you feel inferior to other people, or makes you feel unlovable. Then you can start to look at that. Then you can start to see how it applies to people around you. Then you can start to see how you act around people around you because of that wound. It's like a progression. But if you want to jump and just skip that whole progression that your spirit guides provide for you, you go into spiritual psychosis, and you start attracting energies that take advantage of that keep you stuck there, that make you feel like, yeah, you do this ritual and I'm going to give you the power, and I'm going to do this. They read your thoughts of your desires, of what your human desires of what you want, and then they use them against you. So he sees now that he didn't have the answers. Okay, he's awakened to his mistakes. Spirit messages, observe limitations. I cannot make it up. And this card's not even supposed to be here. You are the breath. Listen and connect to your intuition, or AKA your spirit team. Thank you. Observe limitations. Just because you can do it doesn't mean that you're energetically in a place that you should. And it doesn't even mean that you have to. Being spiritually responsible is knowing when you have a limitation and asking for help for how to overcome it. And if it's even needed to begin with, that's what your spirit team is for. They know the non-physical parts of you that you can't see that you need in order to walk a spiritual divine path. If you're not asking for help and you're asking for help from hidden realms instead of from your spirit team, then it's going to be passed down to your children. You're going to create a curse and you're not going to be able to get away from it. It's going to follow you until you see the clarity, until you learn how to live life the way it was meant to be lived, and you let go of things that make you feel like you have to chase them in order to feel full. Okay? Oh, wow. That was a lot. Thank you so much, Spirit, for bringing Aleister Crowley through. I understand. Um, in retrospect, he sees now that he was wrong. He was wrong, and that he was viewing ancient universal cosmic laws through his own lens of trauma. And he sees now that he was chasing something that was within him the whole time, but he never stopped and actually took a second to figure out what that was. And now he sees that his approach to this, to trying to prove that, God exists, actually led him down a road that destroyed him. And he sees that now. So he's asking you guys to be careful. Be careful what you're considering academic or experimental without even having a relationship with spirit. If you want to have enlightenment, then you need to heal first, because you're only going to see as clear as your field is. And if your field is covered with muckiness and dirtiness, then that is how you're going to perceive certain spiritual knowledge, and you're going to distort it. So we hope that this helps. We love you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.